Welcome back to Tech, Tesla, and Trends. Tonight, we're looking at Module 2 of Elon's multidimensional thinking process. In particular, we're looking at determining the problem. Part of the methods that Elon utilizes is asking questions to determine what is going on, whether or not there is something that is not right or that needs to be fixed. As he's walking through the plant, usually his eye is drawn to something that is not quite right, or something that just it catches his trained eye of, hey, I need to stop and ask some questions. And as he does that, he's perceived by some, or has been in the past, as kind of questioning whether or not they know their stuff. But in reality, what he's asking is questions to help him understand the current state of the production run, the current state of why things are occurring the way they are, so that he understands fully that particular station or portion of the product is being manufactured and put together. Now, in this case, if you take a look at where Elon's at right now, part of what he's doing is asking questions of those Twitter engineers and the people at Twitter on how and why the product operates the way that it does, and what needs to be tweaked or what they think is important. And he's asking them questions and asking the people that use the product questions. You can see that online as he posts polls and other things like that. But as what goes on within factories, he is clarifying what his understanding of the problem is, so that he can ensure that he's not just doubling down on stupid. Because as he's freely admitted in the past, he's made mistakes. That's one of the things that led to production hell with the Model 3, was that he attempted to remove far too many humans from the overall production process. That led to a considerable amount of over-automation, which did not move as quickly as was anticipated. It happened. And the more questions that were asked, and overall, eventually got back down to, we need to remove this machine or tweak that machine and bring another person into this process or loop. And that led to the solutions that were there. Or asking questions of your problems or those around your problems is an important part of determining how you're going to solve those problems. And obviously you're going to ask the standard, the who, what, why, and where type questions. But also there's a questioning on the level of the fundamentals, those first principles questions, to determine if there is something specific that is not quite right from the beginning. Perhaps the overall principle of why or how they are pursuing this process was just slightly out of alignment. And that's one of the reasons why that first principles thinking is part of the reasoning module. And questions and determining, making decisions, you have to interact with that reasoning module as well. But that's another conversation point, and we'll touch base on that later. So determining the problem requires a solution that can be, or determining whether or not that solution is necessary, or if you can just ignore the problem. Because if a problem can be ignored, then you probably should, if it's not causing issues. If it has to be dealt with, obviously you're going to ask those questions. But if the problem is just that you don't like the color of paint on the wall, that can be ignored. And that's one of the details that perhaps some of the Twitter employees were not going to appreciate, is that those details don't matter anymore at Twitter. the color of the paint or what makes you happy are not as critical as can you write solid code to solve whatever the issue is? Can you make an edit button in less than 10 years? It's a good question. We're still waiting. Looking forward to that. Now, looking at the rest of this module is if it is a problem, then you have to make a decision right now what you're going to do with it. And one of the things that I think it's Tony Robbins, he always says never leave the site of a decision, or never leave the site of a situation without making a decision. So if there's something that needs to be done, make a decision right now what you're going to do. And that's really good advice on a multitude of levels, but it's particularly practical in how Elon handles a lot of these situations. After asking those questions and working with the team and determining what's going on, there's a decision made, and they begin to tweak and move forward. And that's one of the aspects of Tesla that's very impressive, is that they can tweak the production line and keep moving everything else along. And the way that they manufacture that and the way that it's all computer coded, they are able to know which modifications exist within each car. And that is very useful for testing out these solutions and identifying whether or not it will pass the overall inspections and work through. That's that whole system that is outlined in one of Joe Justice's interviews, just particularly illustrates the quick and necessary, that rapid iteration that occurs. And that really matters and is one of the key points why Tesla is able to consistently be different and overcome each problem, and to identify problems way before customers ever report a problem with one of their cars. That's an important detail for the future use of Tesla and their overall system, or this particular part of the system with decisions, is that by following back on this process, you're able to determine whether or not there's a problem already existing out on the roads. So this particular little subsection of the decision module is important to focus on. You make sure that you understand that question, then ask the questions of all involved, making sure that you understand and that they understand, and how everything is put together. And then determine if there's a problem at all, and then if there is, determine how you're going to proceed in resolving that particular problem. That matters, and doing so rapidly makes a huge difference. To be able to rapidly iterate and test that and never quit. Tonight, I hope that is useful to you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night, and have a good one. We'll talk to you in the comments.